All right, so thank you everyone for joining us. Welcome to the Sikh Coalition Summer Series. We are on day 3 now. The Sikh Coalition Summer Series is a week-long virtual event for community members to join, learn together from one another from all across the world, actually. We're here to discuss important issues, engage in fun activities for all ages, and we have over 35 sessions planned for the entire week, so please continue to join us throughout the week. We are so excited to have Inkquisitive join us. Hi Inkquisitive, hi Aman, how are you doing?
I am very well. Thank you once again for allowing me to be part of the summer series. So much love for Sikh Coalition, and I will forever be championing you guys out here, supporting, cheerleading, always and forever. So thank you once again for allowing me to have this platform with you as always.
Of course. Yeah, we are so excited to have you join us today, and we are huge supporters and fans of your work as well. We're really excited to host this talk back with Aman today. If you don't know, I'm sure you all do. If you don't know, you can connect with him at Inkquisitive on all major social platforms, and you can check out more of his artwork and even buy some at inquisitiveart.com. All right, I'm going to stop sharing real quick. All right. And cool, we are ready to go. So thank you so much, Aman, for joining us. For those of you who don't know much about Aman's work, he is most well known as Inkquisitive. He is an incredible illustrator based in the UK. His work, I'm sure anyone who knows anything about artwork, or even not, has seen Aman's incredible work. His illustration is a very unique style. He has this incredible use of color, and personally, my favorite thing about his artwork is it always has a deeper meaning. So you can always look, and every time you look at his artwork, you can see even more and more messages coming out every single time. So we are so thankful to have you today, and really excited to learn more about your work, your journey, and excited to just get to talk to you for a little bit. So I guess we can start with, I'd love if you could just tell us a little bit about your work in your own words, your passion, and where you think your passion started. And then everyone who's here, you can ask Aman questions through the Q&A. The Q&A is on the bottom right, so you can ask him questions and I'll be taking a look. And it seems like we actually already have a question. So while you're talking to us about your work and your passion, can you also tell us a little bit about what's inspired your art and your art style?
That was amazing, by the way. You picked me up so much there, so I appreciate that. I'm all red and shy right now. I'm hiding. Very kind of you. Thank you for all the lovely comments. Yeah, my name is Amandeep Singh, for those who aren't aware, and I do go by the artist name of Inkquisitive. I have been drawn into artwork, no pun intended, since a very young age. My dad does calligraphy, and my dad used to work for the High Commission of India. So he used to do calligraphy for the royal family, Princess Diana, Prince Charles, crazy. I'd never share this. And as a child, I used to watch him do the strokes with his hand. I must have been 2 or 3, and I used to try doing the same thing. Very terrible at it, but I used to try understanding the maneuvers and the motion and the notion of kind of just drawing. And as a youngster, I ended up getting very familiar with that and the understanding of a pen and what it can produce. And I loved it. I loved the whole idea of it. And then I think it was at my nursery and my very early days at reception school, I learned about color and I learned about painting, and I used to love doing handprints and trying to mix the colors together and stuff like that. And it really brought so much joy to my life. And then it was towards my college days, I actually wanted to become a graphic designer. I didn't know what illustration was. I love typography, the art of letters and placement. And then I met a lady who is the lecturer of my university who was doing illustration. And she said, I love your use of color, because I used to still use color with my typography. And she said that you should try doing illustration. I was like, no, man, I don't want to do illustration. So when people used to even ask me, what degree are you doing? I used to say graphic design and illustration. I never used to be proud about it. And then my life changed when I found out how free illustration was, whereas graphic design had rules and regulations, certain paragraphs and certain things had to be aligned. Illustration was just free flow, you know, there was no rules to it. So I'd spent 3 years doing graphic design and found out in my last year that what illustration was, and I blew my mind. So I did my master's in illustration, specifically children's illustration, and I fell in love with it. I graduated my master's and I thought, that's it, I made it. Illustration's going to be the one, but I couldn't get a job anywhere, nowhere. And again, you know, I'll probably touch up on this a bit later on. Clearly something wasn't right with my appearance for me not to get a job. But yeah, I continued. My mom, God bless her, she said, there's this thing called Facebook and you should share your work on it. And I was like, no one's going to share my work, Mom. No one's going to laugh at it. I mean, everyone's going to laugh at it. And fun fact, my mom gave me the name Inkquisitive because she said that you always use inks and your work poses so many questions. You should call yourself Inquisitive. Oh my God. So God bless my mom on that one again. And then I made this Facebook fan page, got 100 followers in 2 weeks. I was like, oh my God.
Wait, so how long ago was this?
This was in 2010. So I'm actually celebrating 10 years of Inquisitive in August. With a lot more coming up. I can't share too much about that, but there's surprises for that. But yeah, and you know, 200 followers turned into 2,000, 2,000 turned to 20,000, and the rest is history, man. The rest is history. But it's crazy because based on the question we got here, what inspired my art, it will be my father. My father really created that ideology of, you know, especially being Sikh, you know, like, arts aren't celebrated as much or weren't as much in 2010, let's say that. Now we're seeing it everywhere and I love knowing that. But in 2010, you know, there weren't many Sikh artists that I was like, oh my God, they're doing art. I felt like I was one of the only ones, but now it's so nice to know that so many people started their journeys. We just weren't aware of it socially.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you know, I'm inspired by so many things. And if we're talking about artists, then people like Basquiat, Sarah Fanelli, David Hughes, these are all children's illustrators. They all inspire me. Banksy, of course. So yeah, continuously evolving with what I see and what I hear. Well, I don't know why I said hear, music I meant. And I feel like that's my biggest inspirations now. But from the start, the kind of get-go, it'll be my father.
That's amazing to hear, and it's really awesome to hear how much support that you had from your family growing up, and it's really cool, I think, just to see that you were inspired by your family to start this. And you know, we got this question via email for you before we even started this chat, but you know, I know many young Sikh artists, they discuss how they may have been discouraged from pursuing an artistic career from their families and their community. So, I mean, have you ever had to deal with that? And what advice do you have for creatives who may be facing that kind of pushback?
I think that's a wonderful question. And I admit, you know, when it's a funny story. When I told my dad I want to do illustration, I was like, Dad, I found it. This is what I want to do, illustration. And he's like, architecture, brilliant. I'm an architecture, it's the pinnacle of design. I'm like, no, Dad, it's called illustration. And he's like, wait, so you're not going to become an architect? Because of course, architects seen like this really prestigious job, which it is. I mean, those who are architects, congratulations, it's a wonderful line. However, it wasn't for me. So for me, it was more so illustration. My parents, I'm so fortunate. My parents have never shied me away from creativity. My dad's, he's so indulged in music and art. He plays the harmonica. He plays the piano. He expresses himself in so many ways. So growing up, we always felt we could do the same, me and my sister. And I think that was such a bonus to allowing my parents to kind of understand my world, because they never once said, oh, okay. But what I would say as advice, if you know, it's a bit of a hard kind of idea to put across to your parents, is the difference I used to do. I used to actually say, Mom, Dad, I want to do children's books. There's one thing in saying you want to do books, but what I used to do, I was to say, Mom, Dad, I want to do children's illustration. This is what I've done. So I used to show them and give them the understanding that, oh my God, he's actually passionate about this. Look what he's done. So I'd always give my parents an understanding of what I want to do. So anytime I was like, Mom, I want to do illustration, really bright, colorful work like this. And I think that really opened up more avenues that, oh, Aman, why don't you try that next time? And my mom and dad would give me the ideas. And I felt it was a nice little way to kind of make the ideas flow. So that would be my big advice, because there's so many times you can actually say you want to do this, say you want to do that, and it does take some physical action to actually understand or get that to be understood by our parents. So that will be my advice for sure.
I think that's actually really wise advice. I've definitely seen some of that in my own life, like posing an alternative, I think, when saying that you don't want to do one specific kind of career, right? Posing just like a very solid alternative, right? And showing that, you can do this. I think you're right. That's great advice. So, I mean, I'll ask you this question. I had seen an Instagram post. Let me know if this was wrong, but I had seen an Instagram post about you speaking about your experience is not being graded very well in art classes growing up. So, I'd love if you could tell us a little bit more about that. And, what encouraged you to keep going despite that negativity so early on?
Yeah, no, it's well researched. True story. When I was in year 9, so year 9 would have been probably maybe 15, 16 years old. I failed art. I didn't pass art at my school, and not many people know that. I was given a D, and you needed a C to pass my GCSEs. I was given a D. Now the thing was, I'll tell you about the project. The project was called Inside, so everyone had to create something inside. Like it could be it's a 10-hour art study where someone drew the inside of a womb where a baby's being born, someone done the inside of someone's brain, someone done the inside. I wanted to do the idea of something crazy, and my ideas were always very different in that sense of trying to push myself at that age as well. So I did, I got a shoebox and I put poles on it, and I put a mirror at the back, and I painted it so nicely. And so whenever someone looks inside, I made them feel like the inside of being in jail, how it feels to be inside something caged. My teacher said that that's a 2-minute job, and that it wasn't worthy of an understanding of the art world, which is fine. But for her to tell my parents that was the most disheartening thing, because I used to do this. I did art for my whole life at school, and every time it was parents' evening, I don't know if you call it something like the USA, but parents come to speak to the teachers and kind of understand the progress of their children. She said, "You know what, Mr. and Mrs. Singh, like your son isn't made for art. It's not his thing. His ideas are very clumsy." And that was the turning point where I challenged it, because I was like, how can a teacher degrade a student so much? Like, if anything, encourage me on what I could do better to gain the understanding of the art world or whatnot. And that really changed me. But I think that I needed that in order for me to realize how badly I really wanted to pursue art, and how badly I had all this creativity to let loose. And whereas some students may have actually got discouraged, because you see it all the time, and when I'm doing workshops around the world, you always hear about, people being put down, whether it's by parents or by teachers or by their peers. Again, my friends at school would rip my work up. I'd go in and my work would be ripped up because, people used to laugh at my ideas. And again, I never used to let it faze me, but I used to love doing the opposites of things. If the sun is being told to be painted in orange, I will do it in purple. If the grass is green, I will do it in red. I don't know why. It's the way I worked. But that led me to get bullied. I got bullied at art class. But again, I feel like I needed that for me to understand how badly I wanted to do art. So I never got discouraged by it. If anything, it was my challenge. And I feel like, if anything, we hear it all the time. If there's some people, some students watching this and they feel discouraged, use it as your catalyst to keep growing, because it's okay not to have a smooth road to where you're meant to be. It's okay to have that zigzag, because when you look at it from a bird's eye view, it looks beautiful down a straight line, I promise you. So yeah, that would be my advice on that. And yeah, never be discouraged.
That's really, honestly, like, it's some insight I feel like a lot of people did not have to your work. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, no, I don't think I share it enough, but I feel like maybe this will open me up to do it a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've been getting emails and DMs about questions that folks want us to ask you. I know a lot of people, they're very, very inspired just by looking at your artwork on the surface, or, even just trying to understand the meanings behind it. But I think that just knowing more about you as an artist and as a person really just gives a whole other depth to it.
Yeah.
So I'll actually skip ahead to another question that I feel like relates a little bit to this topic. But another question we got via email was, when you had a struggle in life, were there ever any times where you didn't feel like doing your artwork? And what motivates you to get back up and get back on track?
That's also a very good question. I mean, being inquisitive, he's always got ideas. He never has creative blocks. It's a lie. It's a lie. So many times, stuck with the same ideas and trying to put something down on paper and can't get it right, commissions and stuff like that. Struggle's always there in terms of physically trying to create art. I mentioned this earlier on, which I'll touch up on now. When I finished my master's, I couldn't get a job, and it clearly wasn't my work. It's because I wear a turban. It was 100% the reason. I was given that. There was nothing in me that was. I mean, I'm trying to blow my own trumpet here, but my work was I'm not going to say my work is good, but it's powerful. My work poses questions, as it would. But for me to, for me not to be getting jobs again and again and again, I knew it wasn't my work anymore. I knew it was my color of my skin. It wasn't. It was my beard. It was my turban. It was the fact that I wasn't, what was common in a workload environment. But struggle's always there. If I can be honest, I recently lost my mother, in which I'm sure everyone saw on posts and stuff. I recently lost my mother 7 months ago. I think that's been the hardest challenge with this. But you know what? You kind of have to look at it, and I always flip side things. My mom gave me the name Inquisitive. Why am I not gonna paint? What kind of ridiculous thing would that be to do? So when I see struggles like that, I always twist it and kind of figure out, wait, why am I not doing this? This is the life I've been given. I actually almost stopped painting in 2015 after my UK exhibition because I couldn't handle the spotlight. No one knows that either. I couldn't handle this whole, can I get an autograph? Can I get a picture? Because people forgot who I was. People always assumed that it's okay not to ask someone for a, how are you? Or how's your day? Can I get a picture? Can I have an autograph? Can you sign this? Okay, bye. And I forgot who I was. And I'm like, who am I becoming? So that was a struggle. And then I realized, well, hang on. Vigor is giving me this. This is the package I've been given. Clearly, Vigor feels I'm able to handle this for me to be given this. So I'm going to continue doing this. So the struggle's always there, but I never let it interfere with my art. My hands are my everything, my creation. And as long as I'm breathing, I will be creating. And I feel like art excites me. Whatever passion, whatever excites you in life, don't doubt it. Never doubt it. You've been given that extra skip of a heartbeat. You know what your passion is. And this is mine. And if my right hand went, I'll be painting with my left hand, So struggle's always there. I just feel like there's two ways you can deal with it. One is to kind of see it as a negative and see it as, oh yeah, that's what happened, and feel sorry for yourself. Well, the other one is, well, you know what, I'm going to challenge this and I'm actually going to paint about this. So my struggle with my losing my mother, and I turned that into art. I created artwork about it, and how I made that feel. And a lot of people reached out, say, hey, I lost my father, and that one resonated. And that's the thing with art. It could be music, it could be art, it could be poetry. These things speak hidden languages with everyone. So I'm thankful for turning my struggles into movements for other people as well.
That's such a beautiful answer. And I'm very sorry for your loss of your mother. And it's, I think, amazing to see how much, inspiration you're able to take even just from her legacy. And thank you for sharing, what you've done in the past with your struggles. And I want to touch a little bit on one thing that you brought up, just about your outward identity and, getting different jobs. So, we've been really excited to see so much of your success at some large mainstream brands recently. Congratulations. And we'd love if you could tell us just a little bit about that. But, in the lens of like being a Sikh artist and, an artist of color, someone who holds a different outward identity, what kind of challenges have you received with that? But also, what kind of opportunities have you also received? And, do you think that these opportunities would have been the same maybe 20 years ago?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question, by the way. if you hear the birds, they're my cheerleaders. I placed them there on purpose on the tree. No, it's been crazy. My whole 10 years so far has been mad. Like I would never be, I never imagined to be working or have billboards or any of that. So for me, even when you're posing the question, it's a shock for me. I'm like, wait, she talking about me? But I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate. Moments such as I recently did a River Island campaign. River Island is a huge brand here in the UK. It's a clothing company, and being part of that was amazing. The challenge with that was that you always have the pressure of being told, right, you're Singh, make sure you don't do this, make sure you don't do that. So as much as I don't want to bash our community, because our community is wonderful in so many ways, I would admit and say that there were certain individuals who would be like, you got to do this campaign, so make sure you grow your beard, make sure you don't wear your earrings, make sure you remove your tattoos. That's not who I am. Whereas River Island chose me because they saw my identity as a Singh, and they said, we love that you are expressing your story through your tattoos, and you are expressive in what you wear. We want that. We want the nation to see a Sikh guy who has that ability to show himself off and express himself, which was great. So in that sense, it was really nice. The challenges in, for example, I'm doing a collaboration with Apple, and I'm hoping my manager understands. I'm trying my best not to tell what it is. That's coming out very, very soon. And Apple, like, I never thought Apple would be jumping on board for this. It's so exciting to see that, when you see your name, Amandeep Singh, written in the papers, and you see it written on the screens. And my turban is I'm not representing myself, I'm representing us. Any success I get is for all of us. I refuse to be that guy that, oh yeah, that's for me, that I did that. No, we did that. When River Island came up, there were so many Singhs and Singnia who were taking pictures in front of my picture and sending it like, I'm like, well done. I love that, because there's so much room for all of us, man. Anytime you see my pages and my artwork, I'm always doing competitions. I'm always sharing my work because I want others to see it and celebrate it, not because it's my work and it's for me. We create to feed everyone else. Hopefully I can feed other people from my inspiration, because so many people feed me. Harleen, let's talk about you for a second. Your wonderful artwork feeds me. I know you don't want me to say this, but your wonderful art feeds me, and I feel like there's so many other individual artists, poets that do that. So, challenges are going to be always there when you're up in the brands and you're working with big clients like Apple or River Island, or be it whoever it has been. But the joy of seeing your name and seeing the Singh and seeing that it's a turbaned Singh, like, oh, there's a joy, and I forever will be representing the community wherever I go, man.
That's beautiful. And I'll speak for the community very quickly, even though I probably should not be, but we're very proud of you too. It's a matter of pride for us, right? To see a Singh, or just to see a Sikh who's so proud of their identity, even brings their identity into their work. Because how can you not bring your identity into your work when you're a Sikh, right? It's impossible. It's so deeply ingrained in who we are. So it's a matter of great pride for us to see ourselves represented in your work, and to see your successes. It makes us all so proud.
I appreciate we come from such a rich background, we got so much, we're storytellers. Why aren't we telling stories more? The gurus, they told us stories. We're doing the same thing in our own way, and I think that's a beautiful pathway to continue and lead on to generations to come. So yeah, thank you for that. Very kind of you.
Of course. So we're getting a lot of questions in the Q&A. And, I think before we move into questions from the Q&A, I'd love if you could tell us a little bit more about, the intersection between you being a Sikh and an artist in your work. Like, how does that come up for you? And, I know that your work is, there's pop culture in there, there's hip hop in there, there's so many different ways that you take your work, so being a Sikh artist, is there like some kind of line that you have to toe, between the kinds of work that you do? I hope that question makes sense, but yeah, we'd love if you could just talk a little bit more about your experience as a Sikh artist.
It's a beautiful question. I've never got that question posed to me, surprisingly. Lovely question. When my local gurdwara in an area called Barking in UK, there's a wall full of all illustrations and paintings by Soba Singh. There's some others, some of the Shaheeds. And as a child, or not, maybe not child, I would say maybe 14, 15, we used to go to the Gurdwara, and I used to be inspired by him. Some of the kind of Shaheed pictures, which are a bit, forgive me for saying it, a bit bloody in some sense. There's a lot, they're quite graphic more so, that's the word. I used to want to know so much about it. I couldn't take my eyes off him. And some of Guru Gobind Singh Ji coming off a cliff, or the Shote Sahibzade in a brick wall, and I couldn't understand it. What, Dad, tell me. And my dad is the pinnacle of storytelling. When I tell you this, I'm down here compared to my dad. My dad is an amazing storyteller. And he used to tell me, I mean, this is the story. And I see Guru Nanak Dev Ji with milk in one hand and blood in the other. I'm like, what is this story, Dad? Tell me. So as a youngster, I got so inspired by that. Now, as much as I am a Sikh artist, I love touching up on anything that, like I said, that makes my heartbeat skip. So whether it's stories about Bibi Nanaki or Guru Nanak Dev Ji or Guru Har Gobind Ji, or whatever richness it holds, I almost somewhat feel a passion for it, where I'm urging to do it. For example, I've done a recent piece called Image of the Undying of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, you know, with a beautiful infusion of Harmandir Sahib with forest. A lot of my artwork is weird to say this, but it's based on my dreams. I envision a lot of stuff in my dreams, and I wake up and I quickly write it down. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta do that. And that's my calling. And I've never questioned it, because I feel like if I question why I'm having these dreams for the last 10 years, I'll lose my magic powers. So I don't question it, but I do get dreams and I always write them down. And that's why I do Sikhi artwork, because I feel like I'm inspired by it. But it's also because when I was growing up, I didn't, now, how do I say this? I didn't understand it so much. But what I tried doing in my stories is, the beauty of social media now is you've got captions. But as a child, you never really understood why is this Shaheed getting cut down? Like, what happened? What was the story? Or why is the Chote Sahibzade in a brick wall? So now I started creating to make a way for a younger generation to understand the stories more, and not just see the beauty of the artwork, but actually understand this is what happened. My hidden messages is basically to allow our community, especially, to understand there's more behind a painting, and that's to celebrate the arts. There's more behind splashes and inks and scribbles. There's so much more if you pay attention. Artwork I've done, which is still my favorite, called King Without a Crown. I know you know about it for sure. Is so many hidden elements, because I'm proud of the community I belong to. I'm proud to be Sikh, and I want to put that in every way I can, but in such a clever way. For example, when I went to New York, I did an exhibition in New York. A Christian gentleman purchased that artwork, not because of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, but because the artwork reminded him of his grandfather. Then when I told him what it was about, he's like, I'm blown away, because my granddad had 4 sons and I'm one of them. So the Jar Sahibzade relates to me. And the fact that you've done a bow and arrow, my grandfather used to be an archer. And I was like, you know what? It's amazing how like things can work out. So yeah, with Sikhi artwork, there's so much to share. We're so proud to have that richness and culture in us. We'd be silly not to be sharing that or highlighting such key moments in our history for a younger generation and for generations to come now.
That's amazing. And I'm actually looking at some of the questions that we're getting right now, and it's clear that there are some young Sikh artists that are here as well, that are definitely hearing everything you have to say, and have a ton of questions. So maybe we can actually pivot to some of those questions. So I guess there's a lot of questions here about, what encouraged you to make this a career for yourself? Was there a moment where you had pivoted and realized like, okay, this is what I actually want to be doing with my life? Did that moment happen for you at all?
Yeah, that certainly happened. See, one thing I didn't want to become, I knew, so I started this in 2010, and in 2011, I realized that I had a great following, and by, even having 10 people follow your work is amazing. So don't be discouraged if you don't have thousands or millions. By all means, you don't need a following to let yourself know you're wonderful, by the way. So remember that. But when I was in 2010, when I was coming up, I had about maybe 1,000 followers. And I was quite amazed by that for myself to have done that in a year. And I was really proud, and I was, celebrating it. Mom and dad took me to a restaurant to do cheers and everything. But I realized I didn't want to become a bedroom artist. And by that, I meant I didn't want to just create artwork in my room and sell it. What I
Mhm.
wanted to do was something called a gallery and an exhibition, and actually have my work in a studio where people come and see it, because I really love that idea of actually speaking to those who appreciate my artwork. Now, the thing is, it's true what they say, you never get as much love where you're from. So for me to do an exhibition in England, I'll have people come out in 2010 because they knew who I was. But it would be so much more bigger if I did it away from home before
Mm.
I did it in UK. So I got in touch with two of my really close family friends, Rick Matharu and Herjot Matharu, the Glass Museum. And they said, we do we do gallery curatings. And they were like, we love your work. We think you should come to Toronto and do an exhibition. I was like, no one's gonna come, man. And I'm always doubting myself. That's the number one thing. Even now, 10 years on, I'm always doubting myself. It's such a terrible trait. And I did my first ever exhibition in Toronto in 2011, and it changed my life. The people that came out, the community that came out, and I fell in love with that. I fell in love with the idea of people viewing my artwork and asking me, and then buying my work. What the? You're buying my? You want to buy my? Because I wasn't aware of that, right? And from there, 2012, 2013, I started tours. I toured Toronto, Vancouver, New York, Sacramento. Then I went to Australia, Sydney, Melbourne, New Zealand, Kenya, Oslo. And the last 10 years, I've done 24 exhibitions, but that's when I knew this is my career. This is what I want to do. I want to travel the world. I want to do exhibitions. I want to meet those who appreciate my artwork. And I fell in love with the idea.
That's amazing. And then a follow-up question someone has on that. Was there a moment, like what was the first moment that you had where you realized you had made it?
Sorry, say that again. When was the first?
When was the first moment that you had realized like you had made it?
Oh, oh, I get this question. And I know it's cliche for me to say, I've not made it yet. because I would be lying, because I am very content in my life with how artwork is treating me, and that's all via Guru's Kripa. So I count my blessings every day. It is a tough one, because materialistic things don't make me happy as much as we may buy this and that. I think it was in Kenya. Kenya was it was an eye opener, because you go to Kenya, and there's a huge Sikh community. But I wish, and I always hope, that my exhibitions hold space for all races, religions. I don't want to just be a Sikh artist. I want to be a global artist. When I saw the lineup of people that came to my Kenya exhibition, it was incredible, because there were more non-Sikh community than a Sikh community. And there must have been at least 500 to 800 people that turned up throughout that whole week at the national the National Nairobi Museum. And when you see all these beautiful colored faces everywhere, all appreciating your artwork, that's when I thought, you know what? This is where I want to be. I'm content with life. I have all people of all races and religions speaking to me about my artwork. That's when I felt I made it. Emotionally, that hit home. So yeah, Kenya.
That's amazing. And so I'm seeing some questions specifically for young Sikh artists. Some more questions. Hold on. So it seems like people want to know, I know you touched on this a little bit before, but when you're feeling unproductive in your artwork, do you have any tips for folks who, may be trying to unleash their creativity? And even maybe if it's not just someone feeling unproductive, maybe it's just someone who, wants to pursue their artwork, but they don't really know how. They might be feeling held back by something. Do you have any tips for folks who are trying to unleash their creativity?
Yeah, by all means. I feel that's such a common thing. Like I said, being inquisitive is a task as well, because um, everyone thinks you have the ideas, but no, it's very difficult, especially doing artwork for social media, doing artwork for brands, doing artwork for commissions, doing artwork for editorials. where's the space to just sit and breathe or come out with something different. My thing is, my artwork is, I like to call it controlled chaos, because I believe in imperfections. A lot of the time when I started out my artwork, I'd worry too much about doing everything perfect. It has to be right. The moment I stopped doing that, the moment I realized my creative block stopped to live. So what I'm trying to say here is, don't think too much about what you're creating. Don't worry about the final. Enjoy the journey. Always enjoy the journey, no matter where you're going. Even if you're having a road trip, we're always worried about, yo, we're going to Disneyland. I can't wait to get to Disney. Oh my God. You don't know what you're missing on the way to Disney. You haven't seen that amazing car that someone's driving, or that bird that's like flying next to the other bird, or that stone that turned by itself. People forget these things. And I feel like art is the same way, because we forget that scratch that you made with a pen, actually, if you flip it, it looks like a side of a face, and you can actually create something from that. Why does it have to be, no, that's not how it's going to look in the final. It has to look like this. So I stopped doing that. And I started painting with my seatbelt off. Everything was controlled. I always thought I'm controlling what I'm creating. So my creative block stopped when I started to think less about the final and more about the journey. So that's one thing. The second thing is getting up, moving away for a little while, going for a walk, listening to something that feels soothing to you, whether it's, it could be art, it could be meditation, it could be music, whatever it is. Soak yourself into that, because for me, when I come back to my seat, I always have the answers. And I feel like people always ask, what inspires you? What is it? Inspiration is everywhere. Like I said, I was taking pictures of the clouds earlier on because it looked like a dog with a balloon, and I was showing my wife. I was like, yo, look at that. And she's like, oh my God, you're right. You can get inspired by everything. The way a coffee mug can look, the coffee stain around it, that can inspire you. The way you could see the grass stains, you could, once you start putting your energy into everything, I feel like that helps up. So that also has stopped me from getting creative blocks, because I see inspiration everywhere. I'm a daydreamer. I'm a night dreamer. I'm forever thinking, hence the name Inquisitive. Always, why is that like this? Why is it? The name Inquisitive literally is me. So I feel like, don't limit yourself to inspiration. It's everywhere. Sometimes the answers I've always wanted is just literally me sitting like this, drinking jar, and I'm like, oh, there's a stain that looks like the map of the world that I need right now. And then so don't limit yourself.
As amateur compared to you, but as an artist as well, I feel it's a very relatable experience, like being able to see things that others are not seeing in very mundane things. Or being able to see different kinds of colors, and I'm sure the creatives who are in the chats right now, they have that kind of experience too. So I think that was really, really good advice. And I agree. Just taking a chance to look at things from a different perspective sometimes really helps. Here's actually a really good question. So someone's asking, how do you handle the pressure that comes with the name Inquisitive? And a second question they have, would you be open to changing your style of painting and use of colors? Have you ever experimented with other styles? So it's two questions.
Yeah. The name Inquisitive, there's a lot of pressure. I'm not going to lie. Again, I think mainly is just people forget that behind the name, behind social media, behind the screen, behind the stories, there's a guy called Amandeep Singh, and he has a heartbeat and he has a life. And it's okay to ask him if he's okay, if you see him down the road, instead of just saying, can I have a picture, and then go. Or it's okay to talk about art, because I wasn't ready for the success that I've been blessed with. I wasn't ready for it. So when I first started getting that kind of recognition from people saying, oh my God, I used to only sign fines for where I parked my car back in the day. I used to get fines for my car because I parked on a double yellow line in the UK. But now I'm signing autographs, and I was like, what is this, man? But there's a pressure with the name Inquisitive, because when you're in the spotlight, or when you are doing these wonderful things that, again, God's blessed me with, people forget sometimes that you are also a human. In the sense of my persona and displaying myself, 100%, small things, I don't use foul language. I've never done on social media, but these things aren't based on me doing it because it's just normal. But I purposely try my best to not be that person doing Sikh art. Why would I do that? So there's that kind of pressure. There's also that pressure of, oh, Guru Nanak Dev Ji doesn't have blue eyes, so why have you done that? You're inquisitive. Why have you? Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot that you were there in those times to know. It's those kind of questions. That kind of pressure of being the artist who wants to create different, but gets pushed back a bit. So there is a lot of pressure. And the second question is, have I ever felt to change my style? I've got so much coming up and I wish I could share with you, but I can't. There is a lot more happening with the evolution of Inquisitive and what's to follow. I've taken up my style completely differently, and I'm actually very excited to showcase some new things that I've never done in 10 years. And it's a very courageous thing for my part, because I'm so used to having my style and, building that style up to have its signature look in the world. And now I'm starting something a bit more different. So yeah, it's a wonderful question. And yes, I am. So keep a lookout for that.
That's awesome. I feel like we just got a sneak peek. That's very
Yes,
exciting.
that's fine. With the SC coalition. Blah, 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 blah.
Amazing. Okay, so we have tons of more questions. So actually some specific questions on illustration and on books. So someone is asking if you have ever illustrated a children's book. And then also, I heard a little bit about the new Jaswant Singh Kalra book that is about to release. I hear you're the illustrator for that. Could you tell us a little bit more about it?
So your first question I'm going to ignore completely right now and pretend I didn't hear it, because I can't say.
Oh, okay.
Damn. Okay.
Okay, well, anyone.
Children's books, yeah. I'm looking forward to that. One day, maybe I'll get the opportunity to do a children's book, and it'll be wonderful if it ever comes across.
Okay.
Second question. Jaswant Singh Kalra. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I had the pleasure of being contacted by Jaswant Singh Kalra's daughter, Navkiran Kaur, who is a dime, unbelievable human being, who also introduced me to the team, Gurmeet Kaur, and they posed me the question, Aman, would you like to illustrate a book on Jaswant Singh Kalra? And I froze, because I had done my research a long time ago, and I couldn't believe, I actually had goosebumps when I was approached by that, and I was like, I actually said I don't think I could do it, because it's such a big honor to illustrate a book on Jaswant Singh Kalra, like a man of so much, bravery and so much pride. And how can I put that into illustration? It's a beautiful book. I believe it's being announced. The dates are coming out. I'm not too sure what I'm allowed to say based on the team if they want to mention things, but I will say this much: the illustrations are wonderful. I spent most of the lockdown doing them. In fact, that's what kept me busy. One of the reasons I didn't have too many complaints about the lockdown is because we've been working on them for the last 4 months. So many illustrations, and it's a wonderful commission to be part of. And it's well written. I've read the book, and it will bring tears to your eyes. It really will, because it definitely did to me. And I've never done something so passionate as that. And I feel like it's so important for our younger generation to understand and know a lot more about Jaswant Singh Kalra. So please keep a lookout for that. I'm sure you'll be reading a lot more on the promotion of that from my pages, and so many more, including that of those involved.
Yeah, we've heard some really good things about the book coming. We've been in contact with Gurmeet Kaur as well. She's doing a book reading tomorrow for the kids.
Oh my God. Amazing.
Of her Fascinating Folk Tales of Punjab book. So I know that she's also been working very, very, very hard on the book. She's very wonderful. And yeah, definitely, when the book comes out, make sure that you're supporting both Gurmeet Kaur and Inquisitive. Yeah, so it's funny you actually brought up that you were working on this during the lockdown. Someone is also asking, has COVID impacted your creativity? Has it been harder to come up with new ideas at home or in a studio, or do you find it easier to focus?
It's funny, we were talking about this earlier, like being an artist, we're so used to being in our own little bubble, in our own little world. So my lockdown's been going on for the last 10 years, if I'm honest, because I'm always feeling like I'm by myself or not going out. So it didn't affect me too badly. I would say the inspiration levels have been lacking. Again, going for walks, seeing things, people watching. I love people watching. It sounds a bit creepy-ish, I know, but I love conversation. I love seeing people talking, making up stories in my head. And that there has been a lack of inspiration, and I feel like everyone needs to be inspired. But you know what? I've been keeping busy with, like I said, the book that we've been working on, my other projects, my Apple collaboration. Um, I've been, it's kind of a shame as well, because before the lockdown, there was so much going on. I have so much travel that was involved. I had 3, 4 different countries to visit, celebrating 10 years of Inquisitive. We were planning to do so much, which we still are. But you kind of have to lift yourself up. And I created a lot of COVID/coronavirus artwork, which lifted other people. And I did coloring in books and stuff. So, I saw the brightness of it, and kind of challenging what we're going through and seeing a lighter way of the scenario. So yeah, kind of didn't let it get me down too much.
That's great. And then I'd like to actually pivot. We're getting some specific questions about your artistic process. So I'm gonna just give you a couple of questions that we've gotten. So one person is saying that they love art, they love to create, but they're not, or at least they feel like they're not particularly gifted with physically drawing everything that's coming to mind. So they have a vision in mind, but they don't know how to get that onto paper. So do you have any tips for how to achieve that final image, or how to get that on paper?
Yeah, I'm the same boat. I can't paint everything I see. If you told me to paint you or draw you right now, I wouldn't be able to. I'll need photographs. So what I do is, if I'm doing a subject painting, so I would actually take photographs. Grids are always great, working with grids. I'm not too sure people are aware of that, but actually taking a photograph, printing it out, building grids, and then building a grid on the actual paint on the canvas, and then actually doing it section by section. That's a great way to do it. But then I've got to a stage where now I'm like, again, it doesn't matter how the final product looks. It's all about, the imperfections of it. But if it's for someone who feels they aren't able to portray something they're visually seeing, take a photo with it. We have the beauty of having our iPhones or Samsungs and a camera phone. Build a grid on the print paper, build the same grid with the same boxes on a canvas, and do it box by box. What you see in a box, what do you see in that box? Paint, 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 draw, 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 and take it from there. And there's some great tutorials online, which I used to see when I was kind of doing my master's on that, because I shifted to illustration quite late. So it's called grid drawing. Try it out. It might be a great way to kind of get involved in understanding characteristics of a face or an object or a hand. Always start with hands. That's a good way to show shading and shadow.
It's interesting you said start with hands. I feel like in the artist community, especially online, everyone hates drawing hands. It's like the hardest thing to draw.
I think that's why I challenge myself, because I'm terrible. I'm terrible at drawing lips and fingernails. I can't do it.
Everyone has those couple of things. But you're right about the grid drawing. Actually, they teach that in art classes, and it's a great way to get started.
Yeah, definitely.
And then someone else is asking, so not just actually how do you draw out something that's in your brain, but someone is asking, how do you always find a way to channel your emotions, your Sikh and current events into your artwork? And, what is your thought process for curating that kind of emotion onto your paper?
The first thing is not caring about what people think of your artwork. That's the number one thing, because we worry too much about what he, she, they are going to say about what you produce. And that is the biggest destroyer in life. The second you give that person your power, that person your creativity, that person your confidence, what you're left with? Nothing. There's no need to create. So number one thing is to have the full confidence in whatever you're going to create. It's going to be the way you want it to be. I feel it's hard to answer this one actually now, but I think that's the main one. Can you touch up on that last part of the question again, the very last part?
Yeah. So, how do you always find a way to channel your emotions, your Sikh and current events into your artwork? And what is your thought process for getting those thoughts onto your paper?
Yeah, no, definitely. So, on the last part, I feel like I think I'm a daydreamer. I purposely pose questions. I write down questions as well. Why has that been like that? Why has this affected me? I really do pose questions with the name Inquisitive. It annoys my family sometimes, but sometimes it's like, oh my God, yeah, what am I? I think posing questions is very important. I feel like that also allows me to create what I do create. With Sikh art and Sikh culture, it's questioning why we haven't seen it in that way. there's a piece called Brick by Brick, which is about Guru Gobind Singh Ji watching his sons playing with bricks, not knowing that they will become shaheeds from the bricks. And I was like, why? Well, wouldn't that be something? But again, that's all based from questions. I think so many answers in life, whether it's based on stress or anxiety or depression, it's just about questions. Question it. Question yourself. We worry about too many medications or sources. What's he going to say? Can I get help from him? Or, I channel my way through art because art is my sanctuary, it's my medication, it is my one-on-one, it's my diary. It's the pages of my diary. And I feel like sometimes I'm painting, but I'm actually writing, dear diary, today I thought of this. But I'm creating an illustration of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And I feel like once you have that kind of commitment and you marry yourself to your work, it's not hard to convey a message because it's coming from here and you've got your confidence and you've got your ability and you've got your creativity and nothing can break you. So that's where I'm trying my best to answer that question.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I noticed that a lot of your work ends up making political statements, whether you think something might be political or not. And I'm sure that you definitely, get mixed responses from those, so I know that lots of young Sikh artists, some of the best art is art that really does make a statement and says something, has a message in it. What kind of advice do you have for folks who are also trying to make statements with their art? How do you deal with the criticism that you get? And is there a way you can prepare yourself?
I don't think there is, but I make sure I do see, again, I contradict myself here because though I say, don't think about it too much. I make sure I don't disrespect religion. I make sure I don't, do racial artwork towards any. I make sure I do my best not to offend anyone. For example, if Donald Trump has said something on his part, I will purposely open up on that. I wouldn't say, oh, I think he's that. If he has done something, I will portray it in a way where I'm against it. If Kanye West has done something and I feel, well, that's kind of off topic, I wouldn't go out and say, Inkquisitive says that. I would then do it, well, he said it and I'm not about it. So I will glorify it purposely because it doesn't fit my views or my feelings on it. So I don't think you can be ready for that. I could paint Guru Gobind Singh Ji in the nicest light, and sometimes you still get something said because they're too tall or they're too small or their beard's too short or they're not muscly enough, because if you're above 6 foot, you got to have muscle. You're always going to have someone saying something, right? So I think the key here is to create something where you're not offending someone. You've done your best to keep it to the message or portray the message you wanted to portray, and not disrespect purposely. I never do artwork to disrespect purposely. So
yeah. So we do have so many more questions. Maybe we can just go a couple more minutes. I know we're about 3 minutes from the end, but there's some really important ones I want to make sure we get the opportunity to answer, if that's okay with you.
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to answer.
Okay, awesome. So one really amazing question I think someone asked, you originally in the beginning spoke about people who bullied the way that you used to do your artwork in school. So one person's asking right now, what would you say to those bullies if you could go back in time?
Oh my God. I think they probably know who I am now. So do I need? No, it's a fun fact because a long time ago, one of these bullies, unnamed, I'm not going to say anything, actually did reach out to say they apologized. They actually apologized to say, look, I'm really sorry I gave you a hard time at school. It's really immature. And I think that kind of, I'm not egotistic. I don't do grudges or none of that. So I was like, you know what, I appreciate that. That means well. If I did want to go back and say anything to someone, it would be my teacher, because of that kind of portrayal to kind of disappoint a student. It will never have a student leaving school feeling like they want to be anything. I could have easily turned that negativity that I was getting into, I don't want to even do art. I don't want to do anything creative. I just want to be at home. But I would say something to her, and maybe I'll make a biography of myself and have her name as the title, So I would probably, not say much now, but yeah, like I said, with the most, not trying to show off, they probably do know who I am, and I feel like that's the best way to leave it. I let my actions do the talking, so I don't feel I would ever want to speak again on that.
That's great. And honestly, it's important, I think, just to look forward. And yeah, you're right. What you've done now, that speaks volumes. So actually forward looking, 50 years from now, what is the kind of impact that you want to leave? I'm sure you've thought of this question, you've gotten this question, but
definitely. I am a children's illustrator, so I would like to do children's books.
Okay.
I
won't tell anyone.
No, definitely not. I would love to do children's books. That's a long time ambition of mine. The art on social media popped up. That wasn't meant to happen. It happened before. Again, I did my master's in children's illustration. I love books. I have a Wonka tattoo because that was the first book I ever read, so I thought I had a golden ticket. I am immersed into children's books. And I feel like that's something I would love to do. I would love to become or be known as a children's illustrator who has so much imagination. You see that kind of imagination in some of my work and my paintings. A lot of the last 10 years, I never said I want to tour the world. I want to have 24 exhibitions around the world. I want to work with Apple. I never did that. So I feel, again, if I start doing too much of that, I will crash. And then if it doesn't happen, I'll be disappointed. But whatever journey I'm given, I feel like I'm content with. And I feel like the goal is to continue to paint and see where it leads me,
That's awesome. And then one very specific question. This might be hard for you to answer, but do you have a favorite piece of artwork? Is there a piece of artwork that you're really proud of?
Like picking one of my favorite children right now, man. If we're talking Sikh artwork, then yes, King Without a Crown or Mitar Pyare Nu is two of my favorite illustrations based on the depth in it. A lot of times I show that illustration I've gone to tours or Huber City, Nagar Kirtan, and a lot of some of the community like, I love the way you've done the splashes. I've loved the way you've done the crown upside down. I'm like, that's a story, and I tell the story forever. This crown is representing, and like, oh, I didn't even see Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji in there. I'm like, yes. So that's one of my favorites. And my other favorite is Mitar Pyare Nu, because again, there's so many hidden things. There's a reason why there's 9 trees. There's a reason why you see 4 deers in total being the Jar Sahibs are there. There's a ray of light. You see the map of Punjab in the ink. So to produce those wasn't long, but to come out with the idea for it, it was crazy. And if we're talking about like non-Sikh art, then I would say some of my moon illustrations, because I love the moon. There's a illustration called, if you Google it, Inquisitive Letter to the Moon. That's one of my favorite artworks. So yeah.
Amazing. And I guess the answer is you don't have a favorite. Like you have many favorites.
No. Yeah. In short, no. There isn't a favorite.
There's no way to choose. All right. So I guess one question I want to end with, because I know we're a little bit over time, and I'm sorry to everyone whose questions we could not answer. But just to bring it back to the Sikh community and other Sikh artists who are here, I know that that's something that you value so much, and support from the community is something you really value. But I know that many Sikh artists, they may not always feel that kind of support. It's sometimes a little bit challenging to get folks to take you seriously, or to even, you were talking earlier about doubting yourself and doubting your own work, right? It's sometimes a little hard to take your own self seriously. And in the Sikh community, I've definitely heard that conversation many times with lots of artists. So, I guess 2 pieces of advice, if you could give, if you have it, but, what can the Sikh community be doing to support the Sikh arts more? And then, what can young Sikh artists do to kind of take their own art a little bit more seriously and to put themselves out there?
Lovely question. I think with any community, there's always bashing in any community because he or she has not done it right. I think in a Punjabi, in a Punjabi Sikhi community, there is a sense of ego sometimes. Again, I refuse to bash our community because we're beautiful, but you always get that little bit. Let's be honest, you always get that little bit. I feel encouragement is so important. Again, starting up, my first comment on my fan page when I first started Inquisitive was, what kind of silly name is Inquisitive? And why haven't you grown your beard? That was the first one. And I was like, man, this is going to be one heck of a journey, man, if I really want to pursue this. We're so, again, most communities always have them. We all do. When we normalize bashing, we think that it's okay to say what you want, especially now on social media. People think it's okay to say what you want when you want. An opinion is wonderful, but allow that opinion to be knowledgeable. Allow it to be an understanding for someone to gain from it. Not, oh, you're this. That's my opinion. I feel your work doesn't relate to me because I could not see this. That's such a big difference, you know? And I feel like we need a bit more of that. In terms of upcoming artists, you know, again, I'm giving away my age here, but in 2010, there was no Instagram. It was just Facebook, this great thing called Facebook. We are so blessed to have these wonderful things to share and show your artwork. And I feel like in artwork, I mean poetry, music, arts, use it. I am so thankful for social media because, again, sometimes sitting there with my family and they're like, you're on your phone, but I'm not just on my phone. I'm actually uploading artwork, or I'm looking at statistics in what artwork's done well. Why has it done well? You know, these things matter. Use and obtain knowledge on social media, how to use it, but not too much. Don't forget you have a life. You know, don't just let your life go by, you know, live it, enjoy it, but also at the same time do things that drives your passion. And I feel like you'll always find a way to feel content, because that's what I do. I feel content with what I do, and I don't do things for the sake of it. In short, I talk a lot. I'm so sorry.
No, that was actually my last question. I mean, do you have anything that you'd want to share with everyone before we sign off?
Yeah, I do actually. I want to share two things. So, three things. Number one, thank you so much for having me on here. I appreciate that. I've got so much love for Sikh Coalition. Number two, if you guys haven't checked out Harleen's work, Immersed in You, on Instagram, make sure you see it, because she's a wonderful human being, and I had the pleasure of being moderated by her. I've met her a few times in my life, and she's wonderful. That artwork you see behind her, make sure you check it out. And thirdly, I'm celebrating my 10 years of Inkquisitive on August the 24th. There's going to be some massive announcements. So if you aren't following me, please do. If you feel to, and if you don't, no love lost. Inquisitive, Inkquisitive. And hopefully you find me there.
Amazing. My face red from that comment. Oh man. Well, thank you so much. And one question people keep asking, is there a way folks can get in contact with you if they wanted to share any of their own artwork or learn more about your work, you know, instead of just the social media? Is there a best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, no, of course. My artwork's available to purchase at inquisitiveart.com. So www.inquisitiveart.com. You can buy my artwork. And if you have any private commissions or anything based on anything other than purchasing artwork, you can reach my team at info@inquisitive.com. And I think that's everything for now. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, we sent that information in the chat for anyone who's looking for it. Well, thank you so much, Aman, for this amazing conversation. I know that so many people found it so valuable. We can see it through the chat. Thank you for being so open with us, and even sharing some sneak peeks. I know we're all really excited, and we can't wait to celebrate your 10 years with you. Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
It will be.
Yeah.
And again, thank you so much for the time and everyone that joined in and the Q&As. So yeah, thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you all so much for joining, and we really hope that you are able to join us for some more summer series conversations. This week we have 35 sessions for the whole week, all ages, many different topics. We have more things on art as well. If you're interested in preserving Sikh art and history, we have a panel for that coming up this week. So make sure that you keep attending, and we look forward to continuing to engage with you all throughout the week. Thank you again, Aman. We had a great time, and it was great connecting with you, like always.
Much love. Thank you very much. Take care of yourself, guys.
All right, bye, everyone.